Hey guys, this is Daniel from Transguys Ireland, and this is my second video on the topic of how you knew you're trans and how you knew transitioning was right for you. How did I know I was trans? Well, for me, actually, I've always known I was a boy. It made sense to me. Like, growing up, I was convinced I was like all the other little boys. I used to play all the games all the other boys did, and even in school, even though I was put in a different uniform, which was kind of the first pointing out that I wasn't like all the other boys. I still played with all the boys, and all the other boys treated me like them, and even the girls treated me like a boy. They didn't, they wouldn't ask me to play the girls' games with them or anything like that. It was assumed I was gonna be playing with the boys, and that's what I did, and that's how things were. It wasn't until I was older, you got things like when people start putting expectations on you, and I guess you've got puberty, which pretty much sucked. And then you've got things like when I first started going out with other people. I first tried going out with guys who identified as straight, and therefore they saw me as a straight girl, and they treated me like a girl, and it was a very stereotypical relationship, I guess, theme to it, and it just didn't work for me because I didn't identify as a female well at all. Like, it didn't make sense to me, and to be treated so much like one in a relationship, it really like messed with my head. So I didn't, they didn't last very long, and there was often arguments and that kind of thing because we didn't understand how the other was, well, they didn't understand me more so. Then I started dating girls, which made a bit more sense to me because I was able to show a bit more of my real self in those relationships. They it was a bit more simple for me, but again, I didn't identify to the whole gay female label either, so that was a bit of a thing for me to get used to. And then I came out as trans, and now I'm dating this girl, and she's wonderful, and she completely sees me as a guy, which is a really, really great feeling. I'm finally in a relationship where everything, fits. It's something that, like, I wish everybody could experience because it really does help so much with confidence and just how you feel about yourself. Um, so, just get the questions here because I've totally forgotten. Let's see. How long have you known? So, like I said, I've known my whole life that I was a boy, but I guess I started identifying as trans about October last year. And then, yeah, I, yeah, that's when I started identifying as trans. How did the possibility of transitioning come to your attention? I guess, like, you I grew up knowing about people that had transitioned, through media, TV, radio, newspapers, whatever. And not all, I guess the media has a funny way of portraying things, and as everybody knows, it's never portrayed in a accurate light, I guess. The whole transitioning uh, process, and the media in films and stuff, they kind of make it so it works for them, so often it can be put in a bad light and that kind of thing. So I knew that it was a possibility, but I just didn't know to the extent of what it was really like because I was young, and I didn't know where to go to find out, and at that time in my life I didn't feel the need to either. So I guess I've always wanted to, because then when I started realizing I wasn't like all the other boys, I wasn't gonna have a flat chest or that kind of thing, I always wanted it. So I've always knew that transitioning was the right path for me. Like, in a heartbeat, any point in time, I would have, easily made the, you get those instances where you're like, okay, you could wake up tomorrow and have anything you wanted, and that's what I would have wished for, even from a really young age. So for me, transitioning completely makes sense. And what's next? Do you, and if so, when did you start identifying as trans? So, as I said, October I started identifying as trans, and I do, but not like it's not, this big deal for me. Like I identify as male, and there's part of me that's, something else. I don't know what the ratio would be, but it's at least 70, I guess 70-30, maybe 80-20. There's something else, and all I know is that it's not female. It's just this, I don't know, quirky side of me, I guess, and it's a bit different, and it doesn't feel male particularly or whatever. But I don't know what it is, and it really doesn't bother me. So I identify as male. I identify as Daniel. I'm, you know, there's so many more things I identify as before I identify as trans in the list of things you identify as or whatever. So I do identify as trans, but it's not a big deal for me. And I do understand why some people really don't like identifying as trans, because there's this stigma, and some people feel like it takes away from your masculinity or your male identity, that you're not fully male if you identify as trans. But I really don't see it that way. It's just, for me, it's not that big of a deal. I'm Daniel. I know I'm a guy. That makes sense to me. And yeah. What's next? Have you told people? If so, who and when, and how did it go, and how did you tell them? Right, if I start from the beginning, in October, that's when I started telling people. First of all, I told my at the time girlfriend. We no longer are together, and I guess a lot of it did have to do with the fact that I'm trans. Which is sad to say, really, but shit happens. So yeah, I told her, and we stayed together for a while, but it just wasn't working out. Uh, and she's been the only negative reaction that I've actually had that's impacted me. Like, it was really tough, but it's worked out for the best. It's made me a bit stronger, because I guess I knew what rejection felt like from the beginning, and because it was my girlfriend or whatever, it hurt quite a bit. But again, shit happens and life goes on. Then I told my close friends, and all my close friends were amazing about it, like really, really amazing. Pretty much it was expected. Nobody was surprised. Everything was respected as well straight away. Everybody, well, they were using male pronouns or neutral ones, or switching between and that kind of thing anyway, because they knew I preferred them. But from that point on, it was full-time male pronouns, and everything was just fully supportive. And then I started dating my current girlfriend, Cassie, who would have been in the group of people I told in my close friends. And after going out with her for a short period of time, I really felt almost, I guess you could describe it as empowered, because I just had so much confidence in who I was. I felt really strong and capable of dealing with stuff so much better, and I just didn't want to lead a double life. So I decided to tell my parents. How I did that was I was attending psychologist appointments every 2 weeks, and I decided to take my parents in on one and tell them about being trans and that kind of thing. I had my psychologist there as kind of just a support thing, because for me, and I guess a lot of people, telling your parents is a huge deal. It's life changing in a way, and especially because it can go either way. So I told my parents just before my 22nd birthday, so that was in February, and then after that I told my sister again in person. And then from then on, other extended family were told. My grandparents, my uncles on my mum's side, because they're who we're close to. I'm not really that close to the other side of my family. But they will be told. It's just they aren't a priority. And then after that, I told kind of all my friends in general that on Facebook, or you meet up and you kind of grew up with or whatever. I told them all through Facebook. I sent out a message just explaining that I was transgender, that I was using male pronouns and male pronouns only. Uh, my name, um, my name, that I wasn't using my birth name. Not that it was ever used anyway. I've always referred to as Danny or Dan. So it was, name wise, it wasn't that much of a switch for me, which I'm very lucky in that regard. Um, so yeah, I just basically told them how it was going, what was happening. I gave them a link to my new Facebook that was fully male, and nothing, you know, regarding, I guess, how people would have seen me. And then people were given the option to add me or not add me, and I just said to people, if you have any opposition towards my transitioning in any shape or form, just don't add me, and that was fine by me. I did lose a couple of people, but really I couldn't even name them for you now, so it didn't really matter to me. Um, then yeah, so pretty much, yeah, that's everything in this week's topic, I think. So this is me wrapping up my video. Also, at the moment, we're looking for a topic 4 for our videos, because we already have topic 3 picked out, but we need a topic 4. So we'd like your submissions, please, either onto our videos, our Facebook, or our Tumblr blog, either or all, whatever you want. Just give us ideas what you'd like to know about, maybe the group, certain experiences we've had, or anything like that. We definitely want to get out there a bit more. Excuse me. I'm also gonna leave links down at the bottom to the group's Facebook, the group's Tumblr, and also my personal trans blog as well. If anybody has any questions or wants to get in contact about joining the group, or how we got it even started, if you want to start one in your own area, anything like that, please don't hesitate to ask. So yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.